Beautiful people, what's going on? My name is Adonis. This is going to be your quick and concise guide on how to rank up. A lot of little tips and tricks. I already have a part 1 if you want to go check that out. This will be part 2. It'll be linked in the description below or in the cards above. One of the two. Let's get into it. Number first is going to be don't greed kills. Very oftentimes, I'm sure we've all been there where somebody's 1 HP, they go around a corner, maybe they find a health pack, and maybe they end up killing you, or maybe they just divert your attention so much that your whole team now just loses the point because they don't have their star DPS, their support, their tank, whomever you might be playing. Do not greed the kill. Now, there's a time and place to greed it. There's a time and place to chase that person, but know when to and know when not to. Sometimes it's just better to push them away. Now you have a 5v6 situation on point, and you guys can focus that. Number two is going to be take heat for team and protect if needed. Very oftentimes, our teammates might overextend, and when they do that, if you can, whether it's shooting at the enemy team, moving up forward to take maybe some of that damage for them so that they can make it to natural cover. If you're a tank, be aware of your other tank. So if I'm playing as Strange, for example, I'm going to be looking at my other tank. If Captain America is overextended a bit, I'm going to start pushing up a little bit with him so that once his health gets a little bit low, I can shield him with my shield and vice versa if I need it as well. That is where that synergy really comes in. You have to look out for everyone on your team. So just take that aggro for other teammates when you can. Number 3 is going to be not being prepared for ult. I think we've all played long enough now. If we see a Strange all of a sudden, pushing forward, being very aggressive, what does that mean? He's probably gonna ult. If you're swinging, coming into the middle of the point where Spider-Man was typically playing the back lines, what does that mean? He's probably going to ult. If you have a Moon Knight who's gotten a lot of damage, get ready for what? The moon haunts you. Get ready. Just know when it's coming. Be prepared. Look for the ults. Look for, in particular, the ones that can completely wipe the team and destroy everybody, lose the point, lose all of the progress. Keep in mind, track your ults.
Maximum pulse. Maximum pulse.
Number 4 is going to be avoid always. Now, personally, I avoid almost every time I play at this point. And not only the players that are maybe like 0-12 on DPS who insta-locked Black Panther and did nothing right. Not necessarily just that, but if maybe somebody's comms weren't the greatest, maybe they just wanted to argue with everybody on the team. Maybe they were playing support, but they went too aggro too often. Maybe they're playing too far back and they didn't push up with us enough when we needed that support. Maybe they were playing a little bit timidly. So forth and so on, whatever it may be. Just know that you can do that. Not only do I avoid when I lose rather, I also even avoid when I win. If I see somebody go 2-17 on the other team, best believe I don't want to queue up with that man next. And essentially when you're avoiding, you're only avoiding ideally so that you don't match up with them in your next match, right? It's more likely that you might see them again because you both just got out of a game. You're both about to get into a game if you're going to play another one. So you just maybe want to go against them next time. Heads up. Number 5 is going to be don't go aggro if you almost have your ult. I've done this so many times and I'm trying to get better with it myself. And I've seen teammates do it too. You don't want to be at about 80-something%, maybe 90, and go a little bit too aggro. And then last second, you die right before getting your ult. And maybe it could have been a game-saving, game-changing ult, whether it's a support ult, whether it's a big Eye of Agamotto, so forth and so on. Something that maybe could have change the tides of the match for your team. So just keep that in mind. Don't go aggro if you almost have your ult. Play a little bit safer, and then maybe you could do a big play for your team. Number 6 is going to be, listen, we all know support ults sometimes can be the most annoying things in the world. But here's the beauty. Not everyone is always actually standing where they need to stand, where they need to be. So, for example, I play a lot of Cloak and Dagger, and I can't tell you how many times teammates are not standing in the ult. And when that happens, what happens? Those teammates end up getting killed. So same thing for you guys. If you have if the enemy team ults with Cloak and Dagger, what do? Look for people outside of the ult, or if you're Magneto, if you're Bucky, right? Magneto can push people. Bucky can pull people. Wolverine can grab people and throw them outside. And many times I've done that myself now with Wolverine. I'll grab Cloak and Dagger off of her ult completely. Magneto obviously can just kill her. Learn how to play around these things and deal with people like that. But outside of just countering the supports themselves, the people who are actually doing it, punish those people who are not playing within that ult itself. A lot of times people don't know that Luna, if she is actually ulting by the payload, it's blocked by the payload. So if somebody's on the right side of the payload, and let's say Luna's on the left side of the payload, they are not going to be healed. So destroy that person who's just literally just out of line of sight of her, and you can take them out very, very easily. They probably think they're completely safe, so they might play a little bit more aggressive at that. Something like Doctor Strange's shield can actually, if I shield Luna, anyone behind me, behind my shield, will not get any protection from her ult. So you can actually use that as a strat as well to also pick people off. There's so many ways around it. I know it's such a freaking nuisance. Pull people out, push people away, use the line of sight, use the walls, whatever it might be. Maybe Groot them off, right? Use Groot's walls to keep them away and destroy whomever is not standing in it. It's not impossible to kill. If there are certain ults that can completely kill them out of it as well, so forth and so on. Number 7 is going to be very simply learn everything about your main. I mean, there's so many times I play and I look back at replays and I look at my teams and what it is that they're doing. And very oftentimes I see that they're not fully utilizing whatever hero they're playing as their kit. Whether it's, for example, Cloak and Dagger. Sometimes somebody chooses Cloak and Dagger before me. I typically play Doctor Strange now or Cloak and Dagger. And I'll look back and see, oh, well, why didn't Cloak and Dagger use her M2 here? Or what was going on with this moment? Why didn't she could have survived this? What did she do wrong? And I'll see that she didn't know about XYZ things inside the kit. There is so much information out there right now where you can look up how to play this character, the next character. There's just so many characters. So look up that information wherever it is, whomever it is that you idolize, whatever hero you like to play, and find out the best way to play them, because you might not be playing them optimally. Number 8 is also going to be something kind of similar, I guess, but play every single role. Make sure you play every single role, because when you're playing as support, you realize, oh my God, my tanks overextend sometimes and they're going behind walls and I'm losing light of sight of them and yada, 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 right? And then as DPS, you realize, oh, okay, well, as this DPS, I have to flank as Psylocke. And as this DPS, I have to do this or that or whatever it might be. If I'm playing Wolverine, I'm going to steal tanks all day. If I'm playing Doctor Strange, I want to play it this way, that way, the next. The best way to learn the game, just like the game that I originally play is Dead by Daylight, sometimes the best way to learn the opposition is by playing as the character, so you know what is in the kit. Not only because it makes you better at playing your own role, but it lets you play a little bit better when you're going against said characters. Like, oh, I didn't know Doctor Strange, Captain America, Namor can do X, Y, and Z things. So play every single role. And for number 8 is going to be know who counters you, right? So if I'm playing as Doctor Strange, if I see a Wolverine, I should be shivering in my freaking boots. Let's say if I'm playing as Cloak and Dagger, I don't really want to fight any tanks. There are some DPS that I can go against, and I can definitely fight all the other supports. Know who counters you, know when to fight, know when it's fight, and know when it's flight. Number 9, I actually don't even know what number I'm up to, but body block. I don't see enough people actually do this, but body blocking in this game is actually so damn good. So whether I'm playing Wolverine and I grab a Venom and bring him into this tiny little room and beat his ass, or if I'm, let's say, Hulk and I'm trying to stop someone from exiting so that I can finish them off, you can body block the enemy team from exits, from health packs, and from teammate heals even. If you're in the middle of a fight, right, what you can do is simply get on the opposite side of the person that you're fighting. And very oftentimes, right, what happens is if I get in between, let's say, Hulk and his healer, or let's say, I don't know, let's say I get between Hulk and his healer. Now the healer instead is going to be hitting me. I have a full video on this. This is going to be number 10, how to get your ult faster. It's very simple in this game. ABS, always be shooting. It will be linked in the cards above. But essentially, if you're playing support, you always want to be healing. And you always want, and if your team is fully topped out as support, what you want to do is throw some damage into the enemy team as well. That's going to ensure that essentially your ult percentage is always going up. At base, I believe it goes up for everyone at 1% every 4 seconds. But every single time you throw out some little ticky-tack damage, it goes up even more. So if you're ever wondering why that is happening, it's simply because of that. Always be shooting, always get damage, always get healing, and you'll get your ult super fast. Number 11, and I feel like this has to be its own thing because I'm so tired of seeing my teammates die to this. Every time you hear a teleport, just assume there is an Eye of Agamotto coming out. That's it. I don't really have to say more. If you hear the teleport opening up above your head, you're a squishy character, run for your fucking life. You're gonna die. It's code red, brother. You're gonna die. Move, please. Now, this one might sound a little weird, but it's something that I learned recently. Sometimes just die. If the team is dead, right? And let's say you're the last one alive. Let's say I'm playing as Doctor Strange. I'm the last one alive. I'm running for my life. I'm in the air and I'm holding my shield and I'm praying to God I don't die. My whole team has died, been staggered one at a time. They all just got picked off. I'm not going to make it out. I'm just stalling time till I die anyways. Now, if you can make it away actually, that's fine. If you can make it away and actually get back with your team, that's totally fine. But sometimes we've all been there where we're just trying to hold this life for so long, ultimately to die anyways. Make sure, just die. Go out swinging, get some ult charge before you go, call it a day. You know why? It's because you don't want your team now to have to wait for you 10 seconds to come out from spawn, right? 10 seconds before you spawn back in, and then you have to walk back. So that's just wasting more time for your team. I know it almost sounds silly, but sometimes just die. Number, whatever we're up to now, is going to be always call your ults. Because even something like Eye of Agamotto, right? Now, let's say you do it absolutely perfectly and you kill all the squishies immediately, right? But let's say you got a tank in there too. If everyone else is focusing the tank when you do that, that is amazing, right? There are a bunch, let's say Groot. If Groot does his little, I am Groot, and throws his ult in front of everybody, if everyone is shooting at that group at the same time, you're ultimately going to get more damage. It's always best that, especially your offensive ults, that even your supports for that little, even as for a second or two, if they start shooting with you, high chances you're probably going to get a good little team wipe if you just call it out. Number next, I don't know what the hell, like, the amount of times this happens is actually disturbing, but don't double stack support ults. I swear to you, if you do that, very oftentimes, especially as you go up in the ranks, that might be an insta loss for your entire team. If you double stack your support ults, high chances you guys are probably going to lose it, right? And what does that mean? Just literally at the beginning of the game or at some point in the middle of the game, be like, hey, listen, I'm at 90%. I'm going to get mine first. Let me ult first. Don't do it. Let me do it. And I got us. But, your teammate has to have a little bit of faith in you to do that. If you stack them together, literally, it's just a complete waste. You might as well have Rocket in there and not have two defensive ults at that point if you're going to keep stacking them together. So keep that in mind. The next point is actually going to be don't stack big offensive ults with defensive ults, right? So let's say, for example, you have Storm. She's about to ult her Fear the Wrath of the Goddess, right? Let her ult and see who she takes out in a big fight. Let's say there's a big fight going on. It's getting a little crazy. If she's ulting, let her ult. Let's see if she takes out enough people. And I'm sure a lot of you have been there before where, let's say, Moon Knight will also do it at the same time. And then your Cloak and Dagger ult is completely wasted because he killed everybody anyways. So be very mindful. If oftentimes too, what will happen is you will get, let's say, Storm will ult from your team, the Luna on the enemy team will ult, and now you can actually use your support ult a little bit better. Now you can use it to counter theirs. You don't really want to pop it immediately. Give it some time to play out. Once you see it getting a little sketchy, then maybe you pop it, right? So strategically, we could use our ult so much better. I think it's a never-ending game of, Lord have mercy, when do I use this? You know, do I do it now, here, there, next, later? But, you know, as the game progresses, as the game grows, we're all learning when to and when not to. The next point is going to be actually to not hold on to your ult forever. The amount of times I'll see a squirrel girl hold on to her ult for way too long is incredible. The other day, we actually did a VOD review on one of my viewers. I actually streamed this, by the way, on Twitch, twitch.tv/Dinosaurus. If you guys want to come through, I'm trying to rank grind solo queue. It is the most difficult thing in the world, but we're doing it on stream. And I actually VOD reviewed someone from my chat. They actually held on to their Cloak and Dagger ult for approximately 3 to 4 minutes maybe, and never used it, all the while their team is all dying around them. You know, I think everybody's always trying to look for like a perfect moment. Typically that's a good one, right? Typically that is a really good one, but just remember that you have it. Remember that I also have another video where I get my ult back, and I'll link that in the card above too. I got my ult back literally in 30 seconds after using it. It is completely insane. It's I don't know. I didn't realize it could come back that fast. It was literally in the same fight. 30 seconds later, got it, popped it again. We won the match. So don't hold on to it forever. Don't be too loose with it either. But find that nice middle ground of when you should use it. But also don't be wasteful. The next point is going to be know how and when to counter and switch. So for example, I mean, this is going to be a quick one. If you have let's say, Iron Man, or you have a Storm in the air, if you use a hit scan character versus a projectile character, better odds that you're probably going to get them out of the air. Maybe Hawkeye can do decently. So the difference really quick is projectile is when you hit your M1 or whatever your fire button might be, your basic attack button. When you hit that button, if it's a hit scan, it literally shows up on wherever you put your reticle, wherever you put your little dot in the middle of your screen, that it's just going to show up there immediately. Hela, for example, is hit scan. Projectile would be someone like Squirrel Girl. She winds it up, throws it in, and it has to travel distance inside the game to get to the target. So hit scan characters are so much better for hitting flying characters because they're flying and they're much harder to track. Not only are they going left and right, they're going up and down and side to side. It's just all over. There's a lot. There's a lot going on up there. So just know when to switch. Know that if you're playing Groot and there's a Wolverine, you might want to switch to somebody else. You know, like just know that I'm being countered now. I should switch to something else. This isn't working for me anymore. What else can I do? Number 17, I guess. I don't know. If you do comms, please do me a favor. Learn how to deliver a message. So many of my teammates are always fighting, butting heads, yelling at each other just because one person doesn't know how to deliver a message. If you want to win with your team, I think it makes more sense to not aggravate everybody else on your team. And this happens all too often. I feel like we forget we're all human beings online. The other day I was playing a game and I told someone, hey, just make sure you use the cart for cover, because sometimes it's too hard to heal you through all that excess damage. So that you use the convoy a little bit more, use the walls on the side for cover too, and then I can like top you back off. Pause. The other support that was playing that game said, dude, what the fuck are you doing? You're a fucking idiot. Get like, I can't heal you, dumbass. He just started going crazy. Don't do that. Don't do that, because then you know what happens? People are so silly and spiteful in this game. They will start throwing on purpose because you're talking shit. I've literally had teammates do this before. They're talking crazy, somebody else gets offended, and everybody just starts throwing the game. Please just learn to deliver a message. Number 19 is going to be never surrender. There's too many games I've won because I didn't surrender. That's it. That's it. And a bunch of people in my group were, or rather on my team at the time, tried to surrender. We didn't. We ended up winning. Don't surrender, please. Please, Lord Jesus. Number 20, maybe, is going to be learn Wolverine. I'll be honest. The amount of times that my team could have benefited from having a Wolverine because we had maybe a Doctor Strange as well as a Groot on the enemy team that survived forever because their supports were just doing a really good job and our DPS couldn't really get them out of the way. So learn Wolverine. He's a very simple to learn. He's not that difficult. It isn't a high skill ceiling in my opinion. I think it's very simplistic. Just learn a couple of his cooldowns and how to use them properly. But he has a little jump and a big jump. Use the little jump to get in, use the big jump to pull them out. That's it. Learn him. He's an amazing character, a super duper fun character, and very satisfying when you get those Groots from 10,000 health to nothing in about 4 seconds. Number 21, number 7, I don't know. Against Storm's ult, because I see so many teammates die to this all the time. Number 1, separate from each other so she just can't, massacre the whole team. And number 2, high ground actually helps a lot. One thing that she can't do with her Storm or her Twister, is actually go up. Now, if she started up, then she can be. But how often does that ever happen, right? So go to high ground and she can't get you. That's it. Number 45 is going to be something so simple, but something you don't see enough. Sometimes make sure you reload behind cover, whether you're using natural cover or if you're using the payload itself, just reload behind natural cover so you're not taking unnecessary damage when you can't be offensive at that moment. Pretty simple. Let me know, Shia, when you're going to do it, bro, and I'll try to pocket you for heals.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to ult 3, 2, 1.
All right, go. Number 62 is going to be pocket heal any offensive ult if you can, if it makes sense, right? So, for example, if you have Scarlet Witch, who's probably going to get shot out of the sky anyways, but if you can try to heal her so she gets through her entire 5-minute monologue, do that. If you can heal Punisher while he says, I'll do it my way, you have to know also when they're ulting, right? The enemy team hears something very different from your allies. So like if the enemy team of Punisher is going to ult, you hear judge, jury, executioner. If Punisher's on your team, you'll hear, I'm doing this my way. I have a full video on this as well if you guys want to watch that. So it's very important to be attentive to these ult sounds, because if you're not, then very easily you might not know, oh, my Punisher, my Storm is ulting. I don't have to do it right now myself. Star-Lord says legendary when he's on the enemy team. When he's on your team, you actually hear, all right. It's very easy to miss. Co-op time from Cloak and Dagger, very easy to miss. If you guys want to hear all those sounds, go and look at the other video. It'll be linked up top as well. For the support team, if you guys could pocket heal those people, the Punishers, if you're Strange, if you can shield them for the moment, that'll also help tremendously for him to just be able to push forward and not insta die, because a lot of times he just gets focused by the enemy team and they'll automatically die. So pocket heal your ults or shield them as well if you can. Number 45 is going to be you're gonna mess up. I'm showing you a bunch of clips in the background as I'm talking over all of this stuff, right? I'm sure I did well in some. I'm sure I messed up a bunch in a lot as well. And that's part of the game. We're all learning. Every situation is extremely different from the last. You're not always going to get the perfect scenarios. You're not always going to get the perfect amount of heals. You're not always going to get the perfect amount of DPS. Sometimes you're going to go for something. You're going to get stunned out of it. You're going to get killed out of your ult. Sometimes you're going to lose games miserably. Sometimes you're not even going to, maybe you get just a couple of kills during the entire match. Sometimes you feel like you were shut down and not able to play the game at all. Don't take this as a moment where you are trash or you're garbage or anything like that. Sometimes it's just the cards are kind of stacked against you. Sometimes their composition is better. It might be a full stack team versus your solo queue. It might be that they have more time, more experience. Anybody coming over from Overwatch is going to be probably 10 times better than most. Again, I don't come from any other hero shooter. I used to play Dead by Daylight, so it's okay. It's okay. I'm gonna mess up a bunch, and I'm sure y'all gonna tell me in the comments. I get it. We're all getting there. It's not perfect. I'm not top 500 or anything like that, but these are a lot of the things that I've just noticed as time goes on. Number 92 is gonna be if you're playing as a tank or even DPS, but primarily as a tank, and you're not getting the heals that you want, and in order to play confidently, to tank and push and make space and all of that, right? If you're not getting the heals that you need, a few things are probably happening, right? You're either breaking line of sight, so now you're getting a little bit too far and your supports can't see you. You went around a corner somewhere, or there's maybe a group wall in between you. There's something in the way that's impeding them from healing you. They could also be getting dove on by a plethora of characters. If they're getting dove on by, let's say, some tanks, this is where Wolverine would be a good play to help keep them survive if somebody could switch. Penny works very well for keeping your supports alive. You can keep mines on your supports so that if anyone dives them, they kind of just run into the mines. And it'll help them tremendously from staying alive a little bit more. Even if your supports do survive and they're not dying constantly, but they're just being bothered immensely, then something needs to change. Something in the composition that you all are running needs to change, or you need to focus and maybe step back a little bit more and peel. Peel is just essentially stepping back and assisting your back line when you can, so that they're not getting dove on, right? Make it so that the enemy team now is uncomfortable and it's not working for them anymore. So just keep in mind, more often than not, there are some supports that just go full on offense mode. But a lot of times it's that they're being bothered in the back line somehow, some way. How can the team help so that they're not being bothered, so that they can focus on you and try to heal you as best as they can? So just keep that in mind. It's not always just going to be that they're doing nothing in the back line. Number 25 is going to be review your VOD and watch higher ranked gameplay of your main, and have someone review your footage too, maybe, you know? So, for example, I love, as of late, I think I've been playing Doctor Strange now for about a few days, and I've really been looking at the leaderboard, looking at, not Boger, excuse me, on how he plays Strange, because he plays him very well. This other guy on the leaderboard as well by the name of Dongmin, I believe his name, Dongmin. He plays him fantastically. I learned a bunch from him as well, mostly him, I would say, too. And so figure that out, look at the leaderboard, look at people playing your position, your hero, and look at what they're doing that you're not doing. That's huge. And then also go back, look at your own replays. Not enough people go back and look at their replays. And then what ends up happening is they don't ever fix the mistakes that they're making. They make the same mistakes over and over and over again. The same way that I reviewed one of my viewers the other day of their gameplay, and I was like, oh, well, we got to work on positioning. We got to work on target priority. We got to work on maybe, you didn't use your ult enough. We got to work on all these sort of things. You want other people to give you maybe some sort of advice. Obviously, don't choose someone who maybe is the same rank as you. Try to find someone who obviously plays the game a little bit more, or has more hours than you, or is in a higher rank, or has more experience, whatever it might be. And I know, because somebody in the comments is gonna say, hey, listen, you can have less experience but be better than someone. Yeah, I think you understand what I'm trying to say though, right? So just make sure you VOD review your own games, and then look at, if you're Namor main, look at what does the top Namor do? What does he do? And that's the beauty of this game. All of that is archived. You can see everyone's games. Number 47 is going to be cooldown management. Make sure on whatever character you're playing, you know your cooldowns for Cloak and Dagger, when not to use that bubble, when not to use the E ability that throws out that dark window, when it's coming back in case you need that bubble for yourself. I play a lot of Strange as of late. I know if there's a Wolverine on the other side, I have to be very cautious of him and always have my shift ability where I fly into the air available when he's around me, so that if he does end up grabbing me, I can at least fly away and give my team the opportunity to heal me. Cooldown management is so important in this game for so many different reasons. It can be the difference between life and death. It can be the difference between, and the last thing is stats aren't everything. You could have won and made the worst decisions ever, right? And you could have lost and made all the best decisions you could have possibly made. Stats don't tell you everything. Just because you have an amazing amount of heals doesn't mean you played optimally. Doesn't mean you made every great decision. If you could also have not the best looking stats, and you still could have played that as best as you could. Sometimes it's you, but sometimes it's your teammate. Sometimes the other team is just better. Sometimes you were always gonna win that match no matter what because your team was better. Sometimes no matter what, you're gonna lose that because the other team is better. It's that 30-30-40 rule. Like 30% of the matches, you're going to win no matter what. 30% of the matches, you're going to lose no matter what. But then there's that 40% that it's going to be a sweat fest on both sides. I feel like my matches are mostly sweat fest. They very often feel like a lot of sweat fest. So just know that, it's all about getting better. We're all still learning. It's all good. It's okay to be agitated with yourself or your teammates. Just don't be disrespectful to each other. And there's no beef. Listen, I hope you guys enjoyed the content. Like and subscribe if you want to see more like this in the future. I'll be putting up way more Marvel Rivals content. I love this game way too much. Again, if you guys want to see the rank grind on stream, I leave my comms open and I talk with people all day on the game too. So it can be very entertaining, very fun. We get into some silly conversations or sometimes we argue with people. And that next video is actually going to be on that, is all the crazy communication that we've had on Marvel Rivals. I hope you guys enjoy this one. See you on the next one.